Okay, let's see what we're talking about today. An embarrassing story and cybercrime in India. Let's dive in.
Simplifying a complex, confusing world. The Explainers, only on The Podcaster.
Been a while since I hopped onto The Explainers by The Podcaster. Hi everyone, Ahalya here, keeping you company for today's podcast. And I'm smiling really wide because it's not my embarrassing story. Our fellow podcaster Harish has chosen to get vulnerable on today's episode by allowing us to tell his embarrassing story. But hey, vulnerability is going to help us set the context. So thank you very much, Harish. And this is a little story of something that happened to him. Now, let me preface this by saying impulse control and critical thinking are really beautiful things. They stop us from doing dumb shit that we're going to regret eventually. So a couple of years ago, one afternoon, he received a very alarming message. It said, and I quote, "Dear consumer, your electricity power will be disconnected tonight at 9:30 p.m. because your previous month bill was not updated. Please immediately contact with our electricity officer at da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Thank you." So Harish clicked on the phone number and a friendly voice on the other end told him that his bill hadn't been paid. He went on to say that, "Sir, if you don't want to pay by UPI or phone number, you can click on the website link that we've SMS'd you to pay the money, or we can install software on your phone so we can guide you on how to pay." At this point, we're all kind of thinking, Harish, why didn't you pay attention to the red flags, including the terrible language used in the SMS? Because, what the hell is an electricity officer? But, and I don't think Harish is the only one guilty of this, the feeling of fraud is something that happens to other people, not me, is a very commonly felt thing, right? Hence our opening statement about critical thinking. Fun fact, Harish has that message saved as a reminder that he slipped up. But oh well, we live and we learn. And like I said, I'm glad that we got to talk about this incident because it really instantiates the insidiousness of cybercrime in India. And that's exactly what we're going to be examining today. Douglas Adams had a great line. A learning experience is one of those things that says, you know that thing you just did? Don't do that. And it sums up the attitudes towards cybercrime perfectly. We've seen it before, right? In ourselves, in other people. A shrug. What are you gonna do? I just got fooled, blah, blah, blah. We don't want to report it because, well, it's hella embarrassing. Why would we, right? But cybercrime has grown in magnitude and warrants more scrutiny. India now has over 1 billion mobile phone connections, 146 million smartphone users, and over 800 million internet users, with over 400 million living in rural areas. That is a lot of UPI and online transactions. You see where I'm going with this? The credulous and gullible? As fellow podcaster Sheetal noted in a recent episode of Podpuri on The Podcaster, just between January and April of 2024, victims of cyber criminals in India lost over 1,750 crores or over $200 million. That's in just 4 months. 740,000 complaints were lodged on the cybercrime website managed by the Home Ministry. So I wasn't overstating when I said that cybercrime is a big concern. And what if I told you that the lovesick are a big area of concern in cybercrime? On the 9th of February this year, the Australian government warned people about romance scams. Seriously, people, welcome to the new age. Romance scams. Did not think I would be saying that phrase today. And I'm being 100% serious. Here's the actual headline. Government warns against ruthless romance scammers this Valentine's Day. Now, the report claims that romance scams made Australians lose almost $35 million in 2023. Scammers are also using love and romance to lure people into investment scams, which costs Australians an additional $40.6 million. Finland has a huge problem with romance scams. So much so that a 77-year-old named Tula Visa was featured on a BBC piece titled The Colossal Scam of Finland's Fake Lovers. Visa is Finland's foremost romance scam detective. You know, the victims are often older women like Visa herself, and she's very self-aware. She knows how absurd it all is. She said, and I quote, "I've ended so many romances, I feel nauseated sometimes," end quote. Just imagine needing such a service. What is going on with the Finnish seniors, man? But also this takes me back to the last episode of Potpourri where speed dating over a cup of coffee was discussed and how popular that's becoming. So I guess we in India are catching up with some more potential romance scam cybercrime scenes. And yeah, there is no need for us to look outward when we've got our own country. Here's a headline from India Today back in August 2023. Government warns dating and matrimonial app users, says do not take any expensive gifts from online lovers. So the Indian government is concerned that people are being stupid in love and losing money. Here's the gist. Scammers in India are using dating and matrimonial websites and apps to target victims and tricking them into paying money under the pretext of sending expensive gifts. The government estimates that approximately 2/3 of Indian adults have fallen victim to online dating or romance scams, losing an average of 7,966 rupees. That's a fair bit of money, man. So you're online looking for love or a nookie, and the government, my friends, is keeping tabs on you. How do you feel about that, citizen? This whole thing is sketchy and doesn't leave you feeling very good. And speaking of sketchy and doesn't leave you feeling very good, enter Woody Allen. But let's just take this line of his and use it for the podcast and keep it at that. "I think crime pays. The hours are good, you meet a lot of interesting people, you travel a lot." Wow, so on brand for the man. Now, cybercrime is growing because of how much money can be made in a quick time. India's biggest cybercrime case was the infamous Cosmos Bank ATM fraud back in August 2018. A cyber attack on Cosmos Cooperative Bank using techniques like malware injection and unauthorized transactions led to a massive financial breach. The perps cloned several debit cards of Cosmos Bank and used them in thousands of ATM transactions across India and 28 other countries. 2,800 transactions of 2.5 crore rupees were done in India, and rupees 78 crore was withdrawn in more than 12,000 ATM transactions outside India. And all of this was done in just 7 hours on 11th August 2018. Imagine that war room, yeah? On August 13th, a further 13.92 crore rupees were transferred to a Hong Kong-based entity. According to the Indian Express, and I quote, "The transactions outside India were done through Visa cards and those in the country through RuPay cards," end quote. 11 people were convicted in the case in April this year, and 4 people are yet to be apprehended. Then there were the Aadhaar data leaks in 2017-18 and the massive hacking of AIIMS in November 2022 and June 2023 that made the headlines. And you know what? We still don't have clear information about the AIIMS cyber attack, but there has been speculation that the attack affected a total of 5 servers and led to the encryption of 1.3 terabytes of data, with reports stating that a 200 crore ransom was demanded. You know, the more troubling aspect of the AIIMS cyber attack was the crippling of its centralized records and other hospital services. The premier hospital, so to speak, in India was brought to its knees for several days. You know, we've been kind of funny and sarcastic throughout today's podcast, but when we look beyond all of that, this is one of the most unsettling outcomes of cybercrime. That cyber criminals can endanger lives and wipe out or erase wealth. The Economic Times estimated that, and I quote, "sensitive data of 40 million patients, including political leaders and other VIPs, was potentially compromised in the hacking," end quote. You know, incidents like these underscore the importance of real-time monitoring, robust authentication processes, and regular security audits in financial and public institutions. In 2014, a Russian hacker group, Carbanak, hacked banks in 30 countries and siphoned off $1 billion using malware. That's the single largest global cybercrime heist so far. At one point during the hack, they even made ATMs in several places just spew out cash that was picked up by their gang members. They also pumped money into the accounts of common customers and then drained those accounts. Honestly, this sounds like a Hollywood movie plot. I don't know why it hasn't been made already. And now let's talk about the Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center, the ICCCC. Yeah, that's right. I don't know why we're like this as a country, but here we are. Anyway, the Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center, or I4C, claimed that the highest number of cybercrimes in 2023 were related to work from home or part-time job scams and illegal lending apps. Now, job scams are rampant. Scammers steal resumes from job sites and use them to create personalized fraud emails promising job opportunities in reputed companies. According to the Delhi police, and I quote, they make the victim interact with multiple levels of HR executives to give an impression that they are genuine entities. Once the potential victim falls into their trap, they start demanding fees in the nature of registration charges, document verification, interview scheduling, uniform advance, etc. After extracting a large sum from the victim, they stop further communication. Just imagine that. Someone sincerely looking for a job and then getting scammed like this. Pretty cruel, isn't it? The most widespread cybercrimes in India are related to online investment fraud, gaming apps, algorithm manipulations, illegal lending apps, sextortion, and OTP fraud. The network of scamsters is extensive and enmeshed in certain small towns. Amit Dubey, who's a cybercrime investigator, told DW News in April this year that the cybercrime portal run by the Home Ministry receives 7,000 cases per day and over 2 million cases throughout last year. The money under dispute is over $1 billion. Where does this money go? Well, Dubey claims that such money is often transferred within an hour or less to accounts in China, where Indian authorities receive little to no help. To summarize the summary of the summary, people are a problem. Douglas Adams. Why not? He's never wrong, and I like his quotes better. Aside from hacking by organized criminals who work in large groups, usually people fall victim to cybercrime because they're not paying attention. They share personal information about their accounts, share OTPs, invest in dubious schemes, or click on links that lead to phishing sites. So what can we do to keep it simple? You know, in money matters, anything that's too good to be true usually is, okay? You probably didn't get lucky. I'm sorry, but that has to be said. So don't share personal information with anyone and don't click on links from unknown sources. Fort Knox the crap out of your personal information, people. Even if that means coming off as too uptight, giving up on something you think might be your lottery ticket, just let it be. Better safe than sorry. Because in this case, it's a little safety in exchange for a lot of sorry. Impulse control and critical thinking, my friends. As a podcaster, I always sign off by saying stay safe, stay happy. But today, we're adding something else. Stay safe, stay happy, don't be stupid, and we'll see you around on The Explainers.
We help you understand the world. The Explainers, only on The Podcaster.